What's the one thing you regret doing for your wedding day? Not exactly a regret, but just a reminder to keep things in perspective. Looking at my grandmother's wedding photos, she pointed out her bridesmaids wearing matching hats. She remembered these hats were important and there was some big to do about them. For the life of her, she couldn't remember what exactly, and you certainly couldn't tell from the pictures. Just remember that when you're having heated debates over the correct shade of blue for the napkins. When we got married, I decided to let my bridesmaids wear whatever they wanted. My mum tried talking me into getting the matching dresses, saying the photos would look messy if they wore different things. I'm so glad I ignored her. Our photos look colorful. My friends looked amazing, and I saved a ton of money. If I remember what my wife's requirements were for her bridesmaids, it was black and something you will wear to other events too. She provided shawls to go with them for the colors. It was really good looking, since everyone grabbed styles that worked for them, and everyone looks good in black. Seems like most people's regret can be drilled down into doing what their parents wanted them to do. Reading this thread is making me really glad we didn't have a true wedding. My husband and I always wanted to do courthouse, and apparently I never made that clear to my parents. My in-laws were cool with this, and we told them we would wait till they visited in May, but COVID ruined that, and they told us not to wait on them. My dad though spent 5 months trying to convince me that my husband had to ask his permission. Said he wouldn't accept it otherwise. Begged us to get married in a church, when we are both agnostic and my dad doesn't even attend but anyways. Just wanted that cause it's what my cousins did, and then begged and pleaded we have a reception, so he could have a party like all of my cousins did. I hate attention. Weddings. Parties. All of it. I don't even like drinking outside of my own home. We got married right after lockdown lifted in our state, but I told my parents not to come because our county was still bad and my dad was pissed. Said he would show up anyways, but he never did, thank fuck. It was just us and my friend who took our photos. Perfect in my eyes. I've never understood that nowadays. Most likely, a bride's father already knows the person she plans to marry. What's the point in asking? My dad has 2 daughters. He has flat out said that if some guy ever comes asking for permission, his response will be I don't know. Ask her. Getting a friend to video. It's crap. I remember when my dad got married to my stepmom, and I was around 12 or 13 years old. At the time, I had a weird obsession with photo and video cameras, and spent a fair amount of time fiddling with them. My dad handed me the camera, and I went around taking candid videos of people at their tables. No interviews because I'm ducking 12-inch shy as hell. Later on my dad took the camera from my hands and gave it to my stepmom's brother to do interviews and talk to people at the wedding. For the rest of the remaining tape, he recorded video interviews of his own wife, daughter, and son. My dad actually pulled me aside after the wedding to tell me he regretted not letting me hold onto the camera because I actually got some good footage of everyone at the wedding. To be completely fair, I understand why my dad trusted a full-grown adult over his preteen son to take a video of an extremely important occasion. My parents had a camera set up in the corner of the room to record the reception party. Steady camera is good, but that 90s video quality, it looks like security footage, which is not at all heartwarming to watch. I'd take the shy kid spectator footage tbh. Well, we could have had a wedding in fall 2019, but my wife wanted more time to make sure everything was perfect, so we decided to have it in April 2020. What's the worst that could happen? It's not like the whole world is going to stop in the spring. To shreds, you say. Letting the photographer dictate where we should be for the entire night. Going back, I would have told him do all the photo poses you want in the first hour, then leave us alone. Also would have had someone walk around with us when we said hi to each table to help us get out of drawn out conversations to make it go faster. Oh, that's a good one. About having someone break up the conversation at tables to move you along. As someone who worked in a position that did this during weddings, our couples greatly appreciated it, especially during cocktail hour. We would have the couples come up with signals that they were ready to move on, or we used our discretion if their time was being monopolized during a conversation. Wearing heels. Also letting my sister-in-law convince me to stay at her house the night before instead of a hotel. I slept on a tiny, uncomfortable futon with my giant future husband and slept maybe an hour. Letting my ex-mill dictate pretty much everything. It stopped being our wedding and became her wedding, and she is crazy. The whole wedding was no longer focused on my wife and I, but my Miel handing my wife off to me, which is really ironic because after that moment Miel became even more controlling. Some things she did. She had a mommy-daughter dance, made an 30-minute long speech about raising my wife, including playing several inappropriate baby videos, made a toast to herself, cut the cake with my wife, tossed the bouquet herself, tried to outcast my small family party of 6 to the corner, departed the wedding in a rel in my opinion with us. This is the weirdest one. Reddest one. The bridal lingerie literally said mom is girl, wise girl. The wedding was ruined for me. For me. The worst part? It set a precedent that my Miel can do whatever she wanted in our relationship and my wife would always choose her side. This eventually caused a split after Miel spanked the hell out of my daughter and my wife took her side. It just kept getting worse with each bullet point. Like reading the original list of things about Kevin. Letting a homeless guy into our reception venue to use the restroom. Half hour later, he's still in there. A few of my guests chimmied the door open and found him passed out on heroin. I regret not hiring a DJ. It's not only music. They help with the flow of the wedding. Flower toss. First dance. Money dance. Whatever you want. We cut corners where we could, and that was one I regret. I wrote this in another comment, but a good DJ is important. A professional DJ know how to read the crowd and set the mood. You can have a playlist and try running it from a phone, but any DJ knows that no matter how you plan in advance how the audience will react, it never goes that way and you have to quickly switch it up. My DJ was ducking horrible. I chose the cheapest one I could find and my god, showed up so late my aunt had to go and buy a big speaker so we could do it ourselves. Then when he got there he fought with us guests. Then he played none of the music I asked for until my cousin went up and asked him to stick to the what I had picked. I'm not even overly picky, it was all songs in other languages and really obscure stuff. He then tried to perv on my cousin for the whole wedding after she told him she was married, and he still tries to message her on FB despite that the wedding was an MA and she lives in TN. My husband and I went off alone to be married in the woods. No regrets on that. But I regret not going further off trail for the actual vow exchange. A lady on horseback yelled at me that the white thing on your head is scaring my horse. That was the universe giving you a golden opportunity to tell someone fuck you and the horse you rode in perfect context. Hiring a shitty photographer. At the end of the day your photos are the only tangible thing you pay for. We had a family friend do it as a gift to us. They aren't terrible, but damn do I wish we had some ones with poses that don't look so forced and not from the 1880s. I should have made my wife eat her meal. We sat at the table alone and chatted while everyone else was eating, and she said she wasn't very hungry after eating like 1/4 of her plate. Turns out that half hour was the only 30 minutes of the day she wasn't hungry. I finally went downstairs and got her a plate of hors d'oeuvres after her trying to politely sneak down for 2 hours. They spirited her food away some point after dinner and she still regrets not getting to eat the great food we picked out. Tiny wedding in a beautiful state park. I forgot the rings in the car and my dad was kind enough to jog back and get them. That's the only regret I have for that day. I first read that a skate park, the best man doing an ollie during the vows was a nice touch. Actually it's not doing something. My wife's uncle, as our wedding gift, hired the DJ. I wanted to talk to the DJ to make sure that he'd have the songs we wanted. Don't worry about it, he has everything, so I didn't. Don't get me wrong, he did a good job, it's just that he had every song, but the couple that meant something to us. You didn't even pick out your first dance. Getting separated from my wife while at the wedding. She went to the bathroom and then got swarmed by friends and family and she disappeared what seemed like hours. Also, in general getting pulled away from each other when I would get a drink or talk to someone. The reason I regret it is because my wife looked so absolutely stunning that day and I just wanted to look at her the entire time. My wife is still hot but something about that dress. Picking the longest song ever for a first dance. I used to DJ weddings. TBH, the DJ should have made sure they were on the same page with you about how to handle the first dance. I would typically fade out the music after about 1.5 to 2 minutes. I'd try to do so at the end of a chorus or something similar, since the bride and groom usually do not have a full song's worth of dancing planned out. Doing the garter throw. It's just weird. I was once at a wedding where a woman accidentally elbowed her own daughter in the face trying to catch the bouquet. It was pretty funny. I attended 2 weddings with my future wife as her boyfriend. In both cases the garter was meant for someone else, but I grabbed it anyhow. One of those had her family in attendance and the shocked look on her father's face was priceless. When it came time for me to throw the garter, the only unmarried males in attendance were my nephews who were hopefully at least a decade from that kind of thing. Close bracket. Shaving my pubes. A tight suit, hot weather and an itchy scrotum are a recipe for disaster. Male little things you don't think of. Her little things. Getting a shitty photographer my mom recommended, someone from her church. As we are taking pre-wedding pictures, part of the wedding picture package, I asked him during one of the breaks what got him into photography. He answered it's just something to do while I try to open my restaurant. That should been the red flag. Same here and it sucks. It's hard to find someone decent that doesn't cost thousands of dollars. I opted for a $200 family friend and regret it to this day. They cost that much because they put a shit ton of work in. A good wedding photographer has thousands of dollars in gear, is working during the whole event, and also works a shit ton afterwards to edit and sort the photos. You get what you pay for, and good artists are expensive. Not eloping and leaving my mother-in-law in the dark. I could have had hair and makeup done, could have had the dress of my dreams, and may even have pictures on my walls from a day I loved. I had none of those things and it still hurts. Same here. But my mom, and not my Mel. We had a quickie courthouse ceremony because I didn't want her alcoholism to ruin a nice wedding, and she managed to ruin it. Anyway, no dress, no cake, pictures, nothing. The marriage turned out pretty great, though. I hope yours did, too. Not eloping. Our wedding was relatively small and inexpensive, less than 10k, less than 60 guests, but we could have spent that money on a sweet beach elopement and doubled up our honeymoon to be 2 weeks. Having one. The marriage was enough for us, but we were pressured into having a wedding. It was fine, I guess, but I wish we would have just gone on a better, longer honeymoon. I wanted a small event for about 20 people. My fiance agreed, but then her mom insisted they have a lot of very close and important family members they just have to invite. So we agreed on a bigger wedding, but parents supposed to pay. We searched for a wedding venue and estimated a cost for 90 guests, less than 30 were from my side of the family, but everyone was happy about it, including me at this point. They all agreed for the costs except my mom, who was widowed for 10 years at this point and couldn't afford it. So I offered I'll cover her part myself. I was working abroad and sending most of my money to my future wife and let her organize everything, and trusted with whatever she was doing with that money. A few months before the wedding was due and I came back to my country, I discovered my money covered the whole wedding. Her parents ghosted the subject. That marriage didn't hold up. I calculated how much money I've put into the wedding, just because of my ex-mother-in-law's delusional thinking, and I'm still goddamn mad at this waste of money. Also, only 20 members of my family showed up against 60 of hers that totally had to be invited, and the ratio of money in the envelopes from both sides was still 50 to 50. I'm even more mad. Parents who try to control their kid's wedding make me mad. I get it. It's a special day for them too, but it's not their special day. I find it ironic and a little sad. They are just so excited about making the day special and making their offspring happy, and instead end up sabotaging a major point in their life. It's like a kid being excited about ice cream and doing a little dance to celebrate, only to drop it. My wife and I had a couple try and crash our wedding during the reception. Looking back, I might have just let them stay. As it turned out, getting married. Hey, you stole my comment. Runner-up was forgetting to ask my mom ahead of time to show up sober. Not wearing sunscreen. As it turns out, the rules don't change because it's a special day. I absolutely adored my wedding. If I would change one thing though, it would have been to hire a hair and makeup artist. My middle did my hair and it was fine, and I did my own makeup and it was fine. But I wish I had just let myself spend that little bit extra on myself looking back. Even though we did get caught in the rain, so it all would have been ruined the same either way, haha. Made for a fabulous waterfall photo though. My regret is having someone do my hair and makeup. I could have done a better / more me job than the professional my mum knew. I thought it would feel nice and a bit luxurious if someone else did it, but it just felt plastic and weird. We did have an incredibly low cost outdoor wedding though, so the more done hair and makeup was really out of place. And the July heat didn't help it either. Posing for pictures. Ended up putting so much energy into getting perfect pics we didn't spend time in the moment. Just ask your photographer to do candid shots only and focus on enjoying the day. Your pics will be great whether you try hard to have perfect photos or not, and you won't look at the album nearly as often as you might think. We couldn't afford a wedding photographer at the time of the wedding, so we had candid photos from some nice friends. Then about a year later we had makeup wedding photos and got all dressed up and tramped out into the woods with a professional. It really turned out great and so much fun. Going into labor. Playing Beat the Clock, were we? Oh, completely. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos.